Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another Inside the Pirates podcast. I am your host, Teddy Panos, coming here from the Well Point Studios here in beautiful downtown Lowell. And joining us on the Zoom line this week is, well, I guess you could say he is the newest member of the Massachusetts Pirates, and arguably maybe the most important member of the team, because he is the new head coach of the Massachusetts Pirates, taking the reins of the team on April 30th. And today, here on Tuesday, May 6th, he's joining us on the Zoom line, head coach Tom Menas. Good morning, coach, or I should say good afternoon, coach. How are you, sir?
Great. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Great to have you here. Welcome to our community. Welcome to the city of Lowell. Although, have you even spent any time in Lowell yet? Because I know you guys are out on an Arizona West Coast swing, right?
Yeah. I've personally been to Boston area several times over my career, but I'm excited about being back. My family absolutely loves the community, and they're excited about coming out for games and being a part of it. So it's all good. Yeah, happy.
Well, awesome. Well, we're happy. So you mentioned being out in Boston during your career. Is that as a visiting team, or did you actually coach in the area?
Well, no, not only professionally, but also personally, we love Boston and we love the Boston area. My wife and I, Miss Susan, her and I are avid adventurers, you might say, in the off season. And we like to go to different spots. And I've had family that lived in the Boston area growing up, and they lived out in the country a bit and raised horses. So I spent some summers here as a youth. And then as I got older, I would make it a mission to get out here, especially for the food. We love the seafood here, and just and the people in general. And I've been a Patriots fan for a lot of years. They're not my primary team, but they're my second team favorite, mostly when Coach Belichick was there. Yeah, so we've really enjoyed coming out here in the past.
Awesome. Well, we're glad you're back in the area, and you're going to spend a little bit more time. It seems like interesting year for you. You started in San Antonio in the IFL Indoor Football League. You coached a couple of weeks, and then they decide to go in another direction. And lo and behold,
Yeah.
the Pirates decide to go in another direction. And April 30th, here you are.
Well,
It's
I'll
a
give
weird
you all the
start,
insight.
right?
Yeah, it's the second time this has happened to me in less than a half a dozen years. What happens is, you know, you get to a place, you create it, you put your name on it, you develop it, you create a culture, you do all the things that you try to do as professionally as you can. And my resume shows that everywhere I've been able to do that and win. And took over a team down there, not unsimilar to up here. And after about, the second game, we weren't necessarily seeing eye to eye on some things. And the best thing I'll say is it was mutual.
Okay.
And they're good people. Don't get me wrong. The owners there are good people. The people in the community are great people. I've made a lot of friends that I'll probably have for the rest of my life there. That part of it's fantastic. They're just wonderful. The bad part about it is that, when you have a transition like that, we got home. Well, let me give you the quick story if you don't mind. So we just went out and we beat Bay Area, who is a reigning champion from the past couple years. And we went out there and we beat Bay Area, which was kind of a shocker to the IFL community. I didn't see it as an upset. I saw it as we're really good. And got back and we made that decision to part ways. Um, I called my wife. I said, "Hey, I'm coming home," and she was ecstatic. She thought she actually had me for a summer. So the first thing they did was, because my birthday was around the corner, all the kids got together and planned this big birthday bash in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And so they rented this gorgeous cabin in the mountains, this lodge. And I drove from San Antonio to Michigan, then from Michigan to Gatlinburg. And we had the grandkids, all the children. We have 6 kids, 3 grandkids, and they're all there. Everybody's happy. We're having this big week-long celebration. And then on the way home, prior to that, Hassan and Jawad and I had some conversations, but they were kind of like, would you come in? Would you did? And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm probably going to wait until next August after the bowl game and make my decision where I'm going to finish up or go next. And coming home, we left that Wednesday, and Jawad and I actually did the contract in the car on my way home. Because I've been looking forward to working with Hassan and Jawad for a few years. We've tried to put something together since I left Albany in 22, 23. We've always tried to put something together, but it never quite worked out. And so when the opportunity came up, I was excited about working with them. And what great athletes we have here. What a roster, And so it would have been hard for a coach like me to pass up on the roster alone, So excited about it, but everything's happening really fast. I got here Saturday. We had a meeting on Sunday. We had a practice yesterday and today. We'll have one more tomorrow, and then we're on a plane to go play. So I've only had 3 practices to implement my defense. I'm the defense coordinator too. And so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Don't judge me on the first one.
We may give you a mulligan on the first shot, but I want to talk a little bit about that adjustment and how you have to kind of now take over a new team. But it was interesting as I looked at your like bio on the Pirates website. Coaches like you don't come up all that often to be available, especially in the middle of the season. I mean, you talked about Albany. You won back-to-back titles in Albany, right? In 2021 and 2022, right?
If we win this year, that'll be my 13th ring.
So
we've the good Lord's blessed me with some great teams and great owners and great kids. It's one of those when when I left San Antonio, I think before I got to St. Louis, heading back to Michigan, I had like 4 offers. And they were from IFL, UFL, CFL, just everything that, you're so lucky you have great friends that look after you, right? And I really wasn't planning on coaching, to be honest with you, this season. But you have to be somewhat of a chameleon, I go from wearing red, white, and blue to now I'm wearing, the colors of the Pirates. And you have to kind of be in that position where if you love what you do in your craft, you ultimately get drawn back into it. I always say football is the cruelest mistress that was ever invented. Sometimes she treats you really good and sometimes she treats you really bad and, all that. The interesting story is that I think maybe your listeners would appreciate is this will tell you how sad this is for me. Right. I started playing back in the day. You could play tackle football when you were 5 years old. When I was a kid, 5 years old, we had full contact helmets, crashing into each other. We didn't know what we were doing, but we loved it. So I started playing football when I was 5 years old, and I just turned 65 last Thursday, right? And I've never missed a season in football. So my entire life, really, I've never had other jobs. I've never had other interests. I mean, I've dabbled and been an investor in something or an absentee owner when I was playing or, whatever, but I've never been out of football this entire time. And it's been a great life. It's provided for us and it's kept us grounded, and it's a humbling job once you go from player to coach, because you're at the mercy of your players, how long you get to keep your job and, all those things. So, I tell the young coaches, if you're not prepared to have your head on a swivel, you probably shouldn't be in this business. But if you are, and you're willing to be a loyal employee to not only the owners, but to the head coach, you're going to be around a long time in this business.
So I appreciate the humility, Coach. I can tell you're very humble. But before embarking on my kind of podcasting and my more general talk, I was a sports guy, and I know 13 rings don't just happen by accident. And yeah,
Well,
you've coached some
12.
great players, but
Yeah.
there's some great players who haven't been able to win, let alone coaches who've got 13 rings. So
Yeah. I've had 12. I'm counting this year's as my 13th.
okay, I love it.
No, but no, and it's all different levels, and I get asked all the time, what's your favorite ring? Because I've got some pretty unique ones, okay, that are very, very valuable. I think my CFL Grey Cup ring is probably a $50,000 ring, right? And they always say, and I don't wear them. My kids all have them. I give them to my kids and my grandbabies, and they're in boxes somewhere. It's not something, because they'll ask me, what's your favorite ring? And I always say the next one, right, is my favorite one. But the thing about it is, if you can keep a humble attitude about it, is that all the blood and sweat that not only you gave, but all the people around you that made it possible for you to be successful, right? And that goes from your equipment managers, your trainers, your support staff, your operation people, all that, and all that they did will get no credit at all. And then they put you on this stage and they hand you a trophy and they give you a ring in 6 months and they tell you how wonderful you are. Ain't that wonderful? It ain't that wonderful. It's just you're part of a much bigger picture. And I'm a man of faith, and I'm a God family football guy in that order. And I just give thanks every day for the opportunity he's given me to be in the position I'm in. Without him, none of this would be possible. So.
Love it. We used to have a quarterback around these parts who always said his favorite ring was the next one as well. We're chatting with Tom Menas, the new head coach of the Massachusetts Pirates. All right, so you said you literally flew into town on April 30th. You had a couple of practices before you have to get to the first game. What's the biggest challenge in taking over a team in the middle of a season? I would imagine it's kind of implementing your style, your game plans, no matter how similar they are. You're a different guy. How long does that take before you can say, all right, they've got it?
It takes about a month of preseason. It takes about 4 or 5 games typically, and then everyone becomes a family and buys into each other and does all those things. In situations like this, which I've taken on before and been successful at it, it's getting the players to buy in first. Well, I take that back. It's getting the coaches to buy in on your staff. I inherited this staff. I didn't hire one person on this staff. And I love them all. They're great. I've known one of the coaches a lot longer than the others, who I really respect, Mark Stout, but I love all the coaches that we have. They're young, enthusiastic guys. And then it's getting the players to buy in to what you're trying to do. I always get frustrated when coaches come in and they say, trust the process. What's the process? They never explain it. They just say, trust it. I'm the polar opposite of that. I'm super transparent with my players. And I say to them, be the best version of yourself. And be the best version of yourself all the time. And I steal a line from Nick Saban, which is, mediocre people don't like high achievers, and high achievers don't like mediocre people. So I try to surround myself with high achievers. And you'd be surprised how easy it is in the first meeting to know who you're going to have difficulty reaching. Eye contact, body language. I think most of the head coaches that have been around as long as I have are probably pretty good psychologists at this point. And we read all that stuff. And I got to tell you, the first meeting was not that great. It wasn't the most comfortable meeting in the world, right? Because they had just lost their defense coordinator and their head coach. And I come in, I'm their new head coach and new defense coordinator, and I'm saying, oh, everything you guys ran before, no, we're doing it this way. And everything um, it's a different audience. But I can say this, and I just addressed the team a few minutes ago. I'm really, really proud of them, how well they've adapted to somebody new in their kitchen. Okay. And I thanked them for being so welcoming and being open to my ideas and my structure. I'm a disciplined guy. I have a herd of 20 some odd year old guys. And I come in and I say, hey, I'm a disciplined coach. And right away they think, oh, this guy is going to give out punishment. No, I'm not that guy. Discipline to me is simply doing things the right way. I told him the first day, I said, I only have one rule. I only have one football rule. One. That's it. And they're like, what? I said, yeah, just one rule. Be on time for everything. And I said, everything else is an expectation that you're going to act like a pro. So opening doors for people, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, thank you, you're welcome. Let me get that for you. All the personal traits, I expect them to be that way. Do the right thing. Don't be out running around. I expect them to be that way. It's not a rule. I'm not going to babysit them. It's not a rule. But in conjunction with that, um, you know, the cautionary tale by many ex-professional football players is they didn't buy into that, and they're sitting home on their couch. So I think this is a great group of kids, and I'm looking forward to working with them.
All right. You mentioned the talent on the roster, and yeah, there's some great skill position players there, and at all the positions. But you said you need about 4 weeks of training camp, and then maybe 5 games of the season before you can have your stamp on that team. Well, I got news for you, Coach. You're already 5 games and 2 bye weeks in. By the time your stamp is on that team, you may be in or out of the playoffs. So how do you speed that process
See,
up?
that's the perfect part about it, right? So by the time that happens, we'll be getting ready for the championship.
So you're the team nobody wants to play in the playoffs. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I always say no one really cares, who wins in March and April. It really doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't. Your record means very little in March and April. You want to be super competitive in June. You want to win July. You want to win all of July, and whatever your deal is in August for the playoffs. So, I've been around teams, competed against teams that we played them, and they were like 6-0, 8-0. And then we would go in there and we beat them, and then we'd beat them, and then all of a sudden they got 8 losses. Now they're 8-8 and they're out of the playoffs,
Sure.
right? So I've seen, big runs. I coached college ball for 2 years. My record was 23-1, and I won a national championship in there. Okay, so I know what it's like to go on a run. We didn't. The only loss we had was my last game, and I told the guys when they hired me, I said I'll only coach until I lose. And I said, if you still want me, great. And it took 24 games for them to say when I said goodbye. But yeah, and it was because I'm not really a college coach. I get asked all the time for colleges and high schools, and down in Texas, high school coaches, they make as much as some pro coaches. So I mean, I don't want to coach high school. I don't want to coach college. There's so many special coaches that do that really develop young men and take the time and do all that. I'm a pro coach. I like having the talent, putting it to work, more of a once you become who you are kind of guy. It's again, those other coaches are way special for doing that. But my thing has always been pro football. And so after I did the couple years at the college, I went right back to the pros. Yeah, it's a lot of work in college, classes and making sure they're this and that and doing all the other stuff. And I just want to think about football,
It's a job. Before I let you go, Coach, and I appreciate the time, what did Jawad say to you in that car that made you go from, I might take the rest of the year off, and 4 other teams called and I said no? What did he say that convinced you to say, all right, this is the right time, this is the right place?
Well, every one of those other teams, I don't know even if I brought it up to Jawad at the time because if I was going to come back, I was going to come back for Mass. Because it was kind of crazy when I was leaving San Antonio. I'm getting all these calls, and people are writing, why did you fire him? Why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? Why'd you leave? And I'm not a media guy, like where I'm going to go out and put the laundry out there. It's great people, love them, see ya, right? I mean, that's basically it. And you got to remember, I coached for Antonio Brown when he owned an indoor team, so I've been through the ringer. Um, and I love AB. I do love AB. You talk about probably the most misunderstood dude on the planet. He was a great owner for a while. So, um, but the thing about it is that when it happened, I don't know if something happened, like Hassan wrote me a note or something, wishing you the best or whatever, or something. Or I called him, and because we talk all the time, like we would talk all off season and say happy birthday to the kids or this or that. And I reached back out to him. I said, hey, you know what? If I'm going to go anywhere, I'm going to your place if you want me. And then probably 2, 3 weeks went by after that. 2 weeks. No, 3 weeks. 3 weeks went by, and Jawad and I started talking. And originally, I think they were 2-2 at the time, I want to say. And you don't want necessarily need to make a huge change or do something drastic. And then they played their last game, and in the interim, I would be messaging, and Jawad and I would be messaging back and forth, and I'd say, hey, I just watched Jacksonville tape, I'm gonna send you some notes and this and that. I wasn't working here. I was just trying to be helpful, and because I can't help myself. I'm a coach, right? And so anyway, um, Jawad called and he said, hey, I want to pull the trigger on this and I want to do this. And I said, if you're sure. And I said, yeah. And I don't think the conversation was much longer than 5 minutes. And I had made up my mind. My wife was sitting next to me and she's looking at me. She got this pouty face. You're leaving? And I'm like, yeah. And she goes, no, I'm happy. I'm glad. And I said, yeah. And so, but yeah, it was a strange way to do it, and I literally signed the contract on my phone. Um, and I said to my wife, I go, isn't it amazing? As long as we've been doing this, before they'd fax us the contracts and then, or
Yeah.
they mailed them, then they faxed them, and now we're doing them on our phones. So it's been a real blessing, though. It really has. And I'm glad I'm here.
All right. Well, we're glad you're here as well, Coach. Good
Thank
luck
you.
as you embark on a 2-week road trip out there to Arizona. We can't wait to have you back. I believe it's Thursday, May 29th is the first chance we get to see you
Yeah,
at
and
home.
listen, people of Lowell, come on out. I want to meet you and I want you to see what we've created here and take ownership in this team. This is your football team, you know? So we want to make sure that you enjoy it.
Love it. Well, we coincidentally we were planning an Inside Lowell outing that night, so we're gonna make it a good night. Deliver the win for us, okay? So we can leave happy.
We'll do. We'll do our best for
Uh,
sure.
all right. Thank you so much. That's Massachusetts Pirates' new head coach, Tom Menas, joining us on the Zoom line. Best of luck to Coach. Thank all of you for joining us as well here on this latest edition of Inside the Pirates. I think the team is in pretty good hands. We'll catch you next week. Till then, everybody stay safe.